In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to a place at the table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
Hello, it's back to school season, and I'm back at the table to say, let's not forget those that make all this possible.
Certainly so, Blessing, welcome back. Right, I imagine you're speaking of the care economy. As usual. Like you, I'm focused on making private struggles a public agenda. Can you guess what I'll be speaking about, Yinka?
Can I guess what you'll be speaking about? So what you've always been speaking about, menstruation.
That's right.
Equally consistent in holding the powers that be accountable. I'll be doing some accounting as regards the proposed pay rise of political office holders. Welcome back, Matt.
Thank you very much, Yinka. Where things don't add up, we must interrogate them. And I'm asking of Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun, why does there seem to be more rhetoric than actual reform?
Matt, if you don't ask the question, I wonder who will. I'm keeping track of our personal habits and challenging us not to scroll through life, or we just might miss something.
As you can see, the buffet is laid out. I'll begin serving up. Since, like some of you, I like my food piping hot. It's back to school season in Nigeria. Imagine rising before dawn to get someone else's children ready for school, while your own stay behind unattended. Imagine working a 14-hour day, 6 days a week, only to go home with less than 70,000 naira monthly, if you're paid at all. This is the invisible reality of care and domestic work in Nigeria today. We don't often think of nannies, drivers, and housekeepers as part of the economy. But they are. They are the reason many professionals can work, why families function, and why businesses run on time. Here in Lagos alone, there are more than 2 million domestic workers, many of whom hold advanced diplomas and degrees. And yet, they live on the edge, underpaid, unprotected, and often unrecognized. A lot of these workers navigate wages far below the national minimum, no formal contract or agreement with their employer. They work excessive long hours with no overtime, rest days, or legal recourse. Many are struggling with physical and emotional abuse due to the power imbalance in most homes. Many of these workers are women, often single mothers, who are forced to leave their own children in precarious care arrangements so they can care for others. This is not just a labor issue, it's a gender issue. It's an economic justice issue. It's a national emergency wrapped in daily routine. We must start treating care and domestic work as formal professions. This means a national registry and certification process for domestic workers, labor protections, including guaranteed wages, rest days, and grievance mechanisms. It also includes recognition of domestic workers as part of the formal economy, with access to social protections like health insurance and pension. Inclusion in what I'm calling a care policy, particularly those involving labor, women's rights, and economic growth. They deserve to be seen, not just as the help, but as professionals, as workers, as human beings with dreams, families, and rights. And if we want a Nigeria that works for everyone, we must give care workers fair pay, fair treatment. We must give them justice, protection, and a seat at the table. Because the future we're trying to build for our children can't be built on the back of someone else's struggle.
So the Nigerian Labour Act, for instance, let me just read it out. Section 91 that defines a worker, okay, says a worker is defined as any person who has entered into or works under a contract with an employer, whether the contract is for manual labor or clerical labor, whether the contract is expressed or implied. So it doesn't even have to be written.
Okay.
Oral or written, and whether it is a contract of service as a or a contract personally to execute any work or labor. So when we look at it from the existing legislation, okay, care workers are covered under workers. But the challenge you have is when you take it forward to the rights, okay, when you look at the Labor Act itself, you look at the rights of leave, the rights of insurance, all those kind of things. It is then limited to organizations with 25 workers. That's where you have a gap, almost like a lacuna there somewhere in the law that needs to be bridged. And I feel that the way forward is for us to follow the prescription of the ILO. Okay, that there is a particular convention, C1889, that talks about the standards of domestic workers and prescribes that they must have minimum wage, they must have clear contractual terms, they must have rest period, the things that you highlighted there. Correct. Nigeria as of today has not met this. In fact, Nigeria is not even a signatory to this convention. So we need to I understand there's some kind of domestic
National
Workers Bill in the works.
Yeah.
I hope that it addresses this lacuna and this gap, and begins to make sure that our care workers have the same level of rights any worker in Nigeria, because already the Nigeria Labor Act covers them.
Okay. I wrote here Martina Luther King. I could see your movement, I could feel it, and I'm all for it. All for it. I believe that when you, that which is most precious to you, you leave it in the hands of the people you don't take care of. Well, it shows you don't treasure it that much, because you actually do need to look after them. They are part of your home. They are part of your secrets, your intimates, and everything that you hold dear. So it doesn't make sense to treat them less than human.
Absolutely.
My driver has been with me 23 years. Wow. 23 years. And I don't know how I'll manage without him. He's become a part of the family, and he's special to me. What I eat, he eats. And I travel, he's in charge of the house. My driver.
Wow.
My cleaner, she used to come every day, but I don't have that much movement around the house. So I've reduced her time coming to work maybe three times a week, because she has to take her children to school. When she had an accommodation problem, I sorted it out for her. Because for me, I'm going to do my bit. Treat you like a human being. Correct. If you want to turn mad, you can't be going.
Exactly.
But I have satisfied my conscience. I've done for you. And my driver is any times, let me not say the amount, over for minimum wage. He deserves it. He's there. He comes to work 4 a.m.
Wow.
He lives on the mainland. He has never, ever been late, rain or shine. So tell me.
You're looking for a job.
You have to take into cognizance that they are human beings like you. They bleed. They have feelings too. And I'm not saying go overboard, but just treat them
with dignity and respect.
Simple.
I strongly believe that there is a nexus between skills and value. So, and that's one of the things I actually like about what your advocacy talks about in terms of national registry and certification. Because half the time, what we get to see is that people, care workers, you begin to train them, you repeat yourself over and over again and over and over again. So it doesn't also encourage, for people who are very rational, not like kids, for example, who are very emotional, they'll be like, they'll be like, what value exactly are you bringing? Because I end up doing the work, or I end up talking over and over again, and so you're not getting it. So it also affects the payment and the remuneration, and then the care they also get. But overlining what Kate said, you don't have to treat your care workers as though they are less of a human. And this is quite instructive, because I remember breaking off a relationship just because of the way I heard someone speak.
So are you single? Should you ever say?
Huh?
You're single now?
No, he's not. She's not.
Okay. He's sorry.
So
the way
just
the
because
person
the person addressed someone else, and I wasn't there.
No, of course.
And I was like, how do you talk to a human being like this? It was a no-no for me. And then to the skilled workers again, to the to the workers themselves again. You've just got to improve yourself. You can't be in a house. I mean, I told one of my cleaners in the office before, I was like, I need you because you've been with me for a long time. You can't be doing cleaning job forever. Sit down with the front desk person and learn computing. She would not.
Yeah, but the other thing that I would push back on is that, are you saying that she should go learn the computer because you don't believe that being a cleaner is a job?
At all.
It's fundamental to self-development and improvement. So, for example, there are Amazon rock cleaners that you don't need to do anything. You just put it on the floor and it goes around, pick your dirt. I want to have such a cleaner who would be able to operate that. It makes you, but it's not because you're saying that cleaning is too degrading and you should remain there. It's also about helping you do your work better.
But some of them don't want to.
But they don't want to.
So the first thing is we need to professionalize domestic work in Nigeria. And I know for years now, I've known the Nanny Academy. I don't know if you're aware. Amara Gbim. Yes, Amara Gbim is my friend. She's been on this for years.
Interesting.
Our government should look into this, just as you've highlighted in this monologue, in this advocacy. We need to begin to call for agencies, proper agencies, professional agencies that will handle the services, domestic work services. And then I like what you said here. You said the future we're trying to build for our children can't be built on the back of someone else's struggle. And then you said they deserve to be seen not just as the help, but as professionals, as workers, as human beings with dreams, with rights, with families. And these two sentences are the pegs for me in your advocacy, that our governments need to look inward. Absolutely. We need to look inward, and we need to build on this. We need to professionalize. This is what some people jackpot from Nigeria to go and do abroad with degrees, multiple degrees. So why can't we enable that here?
All for one and one for all implies that every man for himself is not the winning formula.
Indeed, Blessing. A society that recognizes and alleviates private struggles is one that is undoubtedly set to rise, Periods are universal. UNICEF says 1.8 billion people across the world menstruate. UN Women says it's close to 2 billion. About 300 million are on their periods daily, yet it remains one of the least talked about public health issues. In 2019, Kenya blazed the trail with the first dedicated menstrual hygiene policy. Scotland went viral with the Period Products Free Provision Act in 2022. India followed in 2024 with its schoolgirls' menstrual hygiene framework. And now Nigeria has stepped boldly into the room. In August 2025, the Nigerian government validated the National Menstrual Health and Hygiene Management Policy 2025 to 2030. It commits to providing safe, affordable products, building dignified wash facilities in schools and workplaces, and tackling stigma head-on. Now, for 6 years, the Sanitary Pad Media campaign, which I run, worked to make this moment possible. We kept menstrual health top of mind in Nigeria. Our pad scholarship in 13 states provided 1-year supplies for nearly 5,000 girls, including those with disabilities. We organized public pad walks, visual arts workshops, and health talks. We also told stories. Our radio drama, My Period, My Pride, reached millions across Nigeria, weaving menstrual health into everyday conversations. Our podcast, My Period Stories, gave young girls and women the courage to speak openly. And on African Magic Family, millions watched as women spoke truths data alone couldn't capture. Teenagers from Bariga and Ajegunle shared experiences that spoke louder than any statistic in one episode. UNICEF says 1 in 10 African girls miss school during their periods. So policies like this change that maths. At the Abuja summit, our campaign wasn't quoted directly, but its influence was clear. Urgency about schoolgirls missing classes, the language of dignity, and the insistence that menstrual health is justice, not just hygiene. And that's the momentum we and many others built, shifting menstruation from a private struggle into a national agenda. Still, policies mean little without implementation. And that's why the Sanctuary Pad Media campaign, which I run, will continue to tell the stories, track progress, and demand accountability. Because if half the population bleeds, silence cannot be an option. And as long as I have a microphone, silence will never be the policy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another Martina on board. It's like we're having some strong advocacies, and I can feel the emotion.
Yes, yes, yes.
2 billion people across the world.
Yeah.
2 billion bleeding. And yet it's taken Nigeria. I'm not sounding pessimistic, I'm just being realistic, to be honest. Like you said, policies mean little without implementation. As for voices on menstruation, yours consistent, pad up, and one or two that have joined to help amplify the work that they do.
Pad up.
Yeah, pad up. Yeah, I do. Because it is nothing to be ashamed of. It is a bodily function. It is not something that should have stigma attached to it. It is a policy that should be implemented as of yesterday. You know, so like Zuma would say, it's a suggestion. I hope it will turn to reality. And thank you for saying you will not let your leg off the throttle. Your mic will always be loud, because we do need our young girls to feel confident, even though they're going through some sort of bodily function and things that normally happen in a normal girl's life.
That's right.
And it's amazing, and I just pray. Okay, I'm not praying. I hope, okay, let me dare hope, that indeed it will become something of a reality.
Absolutely. I mean, I applaud the present Minister for Women Affairs for coming up with this. I mean, it's a big step for us as a country and for us collectively, you know, as women and girls.
So, first of all, congratulations to all of us, not just women and girls, for especially those of us who are also
he for she.
He for she.
That's right.
So it's a big congratulations to Nigerians and everyone. But one thing I want to specifically talk about, the brief glance I had with the policy, is that you know, it leaves the implementation in the hands of the First Ladies and the Commissioner for Women Affairs, and it is a policy, so it's not a binding document that bites anything. So if you don't implement it, you don't implement it on your own. Yeah. So and that's one of the things that we are trying to do together.
Yes.
We're trying to ensure that this becomes a legislation, and we've already done a draft with Funke to House of Reps member to ensure that this is implemented or passed as a legislation, so that it becomes a binding document that everybody can now follow through, because the conversation about period pad banks is very, very important, extremely important, and the effect it has on the psychology of young people all around, both male and female. Let's not even make it look like it's a female problem alone. So kudos and well done. And we hope that the 36 states, and including the FCT ministry, would also come in.
Women Affairs,
will take it up and begin to act. For example, I hear Bauchi State, for example, Bauchi State has actually made, they've not passed the legislation yet. I mean, they've passed it, but they've not signed it into law. What has happened is that the governor has now appropriated for the 2020, you know, it's in their appropriation bill. So despite the fact that they have Bauchi State,
Bauchi State,
despite the fact that it hasn't been signed into law, but it's been passed, but they have now appropriated for the pad banks in all the secondary schools in the state. So it is Bala Mohammed. So it is,
and it was a policy pushed, a bill pushed by the deputy speaker. Yes.
Well done. That was very funny for my NYC. Why look up?
Yes.
This implementation is always the issue. Whenever we have policies like this, and you know, it almost seems like the media buzz is the first thing that comes, and everybody's excited, and then suddenly it's crickets. So how do we get, you know, a 13-year-old in Ajegunle now, for example, to actually feel the impact of this policy? I think that is something that we need to be asking ourselves. And then we need to ask ourselves, what are the roles of other institutions, right? Churches, our mosque, you know,
worship centers.
Yes, worship centers. What are our roles? Because I went to, you know, I grew up as a Celestian, and when you're on your period, you're not supposed to go into the church.
Yes.
My father was the pastor. And I would not be able to go. So eventually,
Your father didn't allow you to enter church.
Oh, well, it wasn't about him. It was the church rules.
It's your father.
Yeah, but it was the church rules. And while, you know, there's a place for that religious, you know, right, but that constituted into stigma, right? Everybody now knows that you're period, and there's this, you know, don't touch that thing, no, don't do this. So there was just a whole bunch of stigma. And so I think that we need to, one of the things that I wrote down is, how do we ensure that girls can now attend school proudly when they're on their periods? They can attend church proudly when they're on their periods. I think we need to start shifting. If we cannot even enact, you know, implement some of these policies, can we at least sensitize, you know, the public? And what is the role of our churches, of our media organization to actually take this forward? The other thing that I think we need to think about as we think about this period is our care workers.
But that's another conversation. Otherwise, we'll run out of time.
So it's not just about the policy. It's also, you know, what is the, I think they call it WASH.
Reorientation.
Right? The reorientation, but also the hygiene.
Yes.
You know, when we say we've passed a policy like this, do we have bathrooms in local communities where people can actually go and change the pads and wash their hands? So there's a whole bunch of different things that is surrounding this policy that we need to now break down.
Some of the challenges we have is when they put these policies in the hands of first ladies who have no constitutional role.
True.
Okay.
There you go.
In any government. All right. And so I quite agree with Martha, and kudos to what you are doing, trying to push this conversation to the legislator. And the Bauchi state example is the route to go to.
Yes.
But again, we will take the win. The policy is in place, and that policy needs to be implemented. The last thing I would say is with regards to the stigma. And we've said this thing at the table once, that some of the challenges we're having is a religious one. Because no matter which religion you take, okay, we have issues around women on their periods not being seen as
calling them unclean. Yeah.
I hope that's part of the policy. You know, it should also include outreach to religious institutions to have them change this narrative. Some of them will push back and say, no, it's a doctrinal thing. It's really not a doctrinal thing, all right? And, you know, hopefully, if we can deal with this issue of stigma, we can actually change narrative. I still remember, and I'm in my mid-50s, I still remember as, you know, a young schoolboy seeing one of my colleagues, a female, and all that, and, you know, she was fixed on her chair. We didn't know what was going on. We thought that something was wrong, you know, and all that. And everybody was screaming and everything. She stood there, she sat there and everything, you know, not knowing that she was, you know, going through and she had been stained. So she couldn't stand up.
It's happened to me.
So speaking out is a fundamental human right. Let's use it. Taking advantage of the platforms that are presented to us and creating platforms where there are none. And we'll continue to do that.
That's right, Funke. Nothing like leading by example. So on to the matter of a pay rise for political office holders. Is it a case of do as I say and not as I do? Stay tuned. The Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission has spoken. After 16 years of frozen wages, they argue it's time to raise the salaries of our political office holders. The president, they say, earns a mere 1.5 million a month. Ministers earn less than $1 million. Compared to the weight of their responsibilities, the Revenue Commission insists these figures are a joke. Their justification is simple. Salaries last reviewed in 2008 are outdated, and an increase in some cases by as much as 114% is long overdue. On paper, that sounds reasonable, but context is everything. And in today's Nigeria, context makes all the difference. The Punch editorial called this proposal bittersweet. Sweet for politicians, bitter for ordinary Nigerians. Business Day noted that this conversation is happening when workers are clamoring for a new minimum wage that still hasn't been delivered. Vanguard described it as tone-deaf and unjustifiable. Serap, a human rights group, reminded us of a court judgment in 2021 that actually directed the commission to reduce political salaries, not increase them. So the question is not whether salaries are due for review. The question is whose salaries and when. At a time when inflation is eroding incomes, when food prices have doubled, when fuel costs have tripled, when parents struggle to pay school fees, is this really the moment to double the pay of politicians? Government must understand that leadership is not just about legal entitlements. It's about moral authority. It's about sacrifice. When leaders tighten their belts, citizens are more willing to do the same. But when leaders pad their already over-padded pockets, while citizens go hungry, trust is broken. This is not just about Naira and Kobo. It's about perception and fairness. If sacrifices must be made, let leaders lead by example. The Commission may be right that 2008 salaries are outdated, but Nigerians in 2005 are not asking for more pay for politicians. They are asking for relief, equity, and empathy. And until those are addressed, any pay rise for political office holders will not be seen as reform, to rather be seen as provocation.
Did you say relief and empathy and sympathy?
That's what we're asking
In
for.
Nigerian context.
Relief, sympathy, and empathy? From who?
No, Nigerians are, that's what Nigerians are asking for.
From who? What are they asking?
From their government.
Yeah. Okay, let me take it. These are not leaders. I say it boldly. My name is Kate Henshaw. These are not leaders. I don't know what you are. You are tone deaf. And you are very, very insensitive to the plight of Nigerians. That being said, it's a pay rise for their high-rise lifestyle.
Drum roll. You can say that again.
Don't leave me.
Yeah, see, government is good. Tell me why it's not going to be a do or die affair for them to remain there, turn it into a retirement home and never leave. Government money is very sweet because who is holding you to account? Can make all the noise till you're blue in the face. Nobody's good. Okay, next, we have approved it. What you going to do about it? That's all I'm asking. Nothing. Let me read. I wrote a lot of things. What about their lifetime salaries?
Is it pension?
The lifetime, they get some people, I don't know whether president and governor, they get lifetime salary. They have houses everywhere. What's that? Is that increased too?
Well, it will automatically increase.
Fantastic.
By default.
Let me end by saying, we all know what they're doing. You all know what you're doing. I submit.
Namaste.
Namaste.
There you go.
I think my own, some of the things I wrote down is, are we okay in this country? Because we are. I think that we are not fine, and I don't know who is lying to everyone that this is actually a society that you can just come out when, quite frankly, this government owes Nigerians. They owe our children. They've taken what was supposed to be for our children, our grandchildren. They've diverted that wealth. They've diverted that wealth to fund their own lifestyle. So now you are asking us to, it's the audacity for me at this point.
And temerity.
It's I think that they actually take Nigerians as, maybe we don't know what we are doing, we are stupid, we are not paying attention. Because what we need to be talking about is how do we actually go after those folks that have stolen our money in this country. So the first thing that we need to do is to actually demand for a drop in our corruption indices for at least 3 years before anybody can even come to the table to ask for money. What are you going to use the money for? Because we already know what you are using the money that you've diverted that belongs to our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. We know where you diverted it to. You and your children are balling. While we have market women, how do you explain 114% pay rise to a market woman that right now cannot afford to send their children to school. So it's and the timing of it all, where we have chosen not to be, and I blame Nigerians.
Yeah,
I think we are the ones that are not holding our leaders accountable. Because as of right now, if anybody has the audacity to actually come to us when we are experiencing an economic collapse in this country, where everything is now triple or quadruple in prices, that is the time that you're talking about some miserable salary that you think you're earning that needs to be revised. On what basis? I think that is the question we need to be asking our politicians, because this is, quite frankly, at this point, an insult to Nigerians.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying to tell us that he's been living on 1.5 million naira salary in the last, and he is wearing a wristwatch worth over 300 million naira.
He needs
to be probed, in all honesty, because that means he's living beyond his income, right? That doesn't equate his income. So some questions, he needs to answer some questions. And it's the level of insensitivity for me, because we all know that this is not what you live on, other issues, other monies, allowances,
we all know what we are doing.
Exactly like you rightly said.
They do.
And if you need public service, is about public service. It's about sacrifices. It's about help. It's not a place where you go to enrich yourself and get more money. If you feel like you want to earn more money, then resign, go and face private sector work and make money like them Ilumelu are doing, or Femi Otedola and co, that we cannot ask questions because it's their private enterprise. So for as long as you are in government and you are in public office, please manage the 1.5 we are paying you.
Well, I think you summed it up nicely at the end of this advocacy. You said, and I quote, any pay rise for political office holders will not be seen as reform. It will be seen as provocation.
Yes.
Because that's truly what it is. We're all here shouting about high rent. For you to rent a space in Nigeria, whether Lagos, wherever. And I say, where do people get this kind of money? And it goes back to the fact that corruption has been institutionalized. It's either you're stealing money or doing something shady to afford all of these. Now, in the middle of it all, someone gave an example of market women here. In the middle of it all, this commission, what are they? Revenue Commission says, oh, we now want to increase the salaries of legislators and the executive. I mean, where is the empathy? Again, you got it right when you said leadership is not just legal entitlement. Legally, you can increase, but morally, looking at what Nigerians are suffering from, like looking at how much 10,000 naira can buy in the market. You just talked about 70K for healthcare workers, minimum wage. We're looking at minimum, what is that minimum wage buying for people? And then you people sit down there, you have recesses, you have these, you're pretty much living baby girl life, life of luxury, and the regular Nigerian slaving. You're not saying you want to increase that so that the purchasing power of what's in their hands can be better, but you want to increase yours. Where is the empathy that you talked about?
And not just that, what have they done for us? Because you at least do something for someone before you start saying, please pay me more. If this was a business and you came with your performance review and you asked for a salary, they will ask you, have you made the company this much money for you to come and demand this salary? So you've not done anything for us. The economy is crashing. Instead of you to model restraint, you have the temerity to come back to Nigerians to ask for more.
They come back to us. They are telling you this is what they are going to do. Nobody asks you your opinion.
Reforms cannot be carried out in a climate of insensitivity to the reality the masses are faced with, or it will be predictably read as a provocation.
That's what it is.
I'll add to this that rhetoric is no substitute for actual reform, just as giving a baby a pacifier won't take the place of actual feeding it. Her Lordship, Chief Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun, took the oath of office as Nigeria's Chief Justice in August 2024 amid high expectations. She inherited a judiciary battered by corruption scandals, political interference, and collapsing public trust. Reform advocates, civil society groups, and senior lawyers laid out a clear agenda: stop the abuse of ex parte orders, enforce discipline within the bench, digitize courtrooms, build the judiciary's credibility and public trust. 1 year later, a new review by TAP Initiative suggests that the judiciary's top officer has been more eloquent than effective. TAP Initiative's assessment concludes that progress has been underwhelming. Her leadership appears risk-averse, relying on speeches and moral persuasion rather than structural reforms. For a judiciary in crisis, this is insufficient. Although the Chief Justice has repeatedly stressed the need for e-filing and virtual hearings, there has been no nationwide rollout. Courts remain bogged down in manual processes, even as the case backlog grows. The CJN herself acknowledged more than 243,000 pending cases in higher courts, while the Supreme Court introduced new rules to accelerate proceedings. No concrete strategy has been outlined to clear the logjam. The review acknowledges that under her leadership, the National Judicial Council sanctioned several judges in the past year, including compulsory retirements in Imo State due to falsified ages, and suspensions in Abuja and Uyo for questionable rulings. Yet, these measures fall short of being effective deterrents. Many of the offenses are criminal in nature. Should the punishment for age falsification be just retirement, or should it extend to denial of benefits and recommendation for criminal prosecution? The review asked. Public confidence in the judiciary remains low, despite the CJN's avoidance of nepotism in appointments. Concerns over judicial independence also persist, as judges continue to depend on cars and housing provided by state governors. A practice reform advocates say undermines neutrality, especially ahead of the 2027 elections. The Lord Chief Justice has diagnosed the judiciary's problems, but has yet to deliver solutions. The coming year will be decisive. Either she moves from rhetoric to reforms or risk being remembered as a cautious caretaker presiding over inertia.
I was just writing out what stood out for me in this advocacy. The first is that the present Chief Justice of the Federation inherited a judiciary that was battered. And the report card says she's more eloquent than effective. But then again, what was mind-boggling to me here was to hear that we have 243,000 pending cases in higher courts. How? What kind of judiciary system is this, where you take your cases to court and it's pending for forever? How do you then get justice? How? You know, then the Supreme Court introduced this and that and that and that. But then again, you talked about a judiciary where governors dictate the pace. A bot judiciary where governors just have to pay something and then they turn the hand of justice to wherever they want it to be. We cannot continue like this. And yes, you are right to say at the end of our term and years of service as the Chief Justice of the Federation, what will we remember her for? Because in public offices, when you are asked to come and serve, there has to be something we would remember you with. And she has to, you know, be courageous to do the rightful thing, the needful, so that we remember her for one thing. If she clears these cases, these pending cases, 240 something, 43 you said.
43,000.
We would remember her maybe for that alone. I rest my case, your lordship.
I think my problem with this whole thing is the state part. Because I feel like Nigeria will always Nigeria. But then when you have the judiciary tangled with the executive,
I mean, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili was spot on at the bar.
Is that not the one she said, if you like, don't invite me again?
Yes.
Me, I won't
She said she won't come. She said she.
I have to go and watch it.
And so it's not, we cannot expect reform, right? When you are tangled with, when the judiciary is tangled with the state's governors and is the governor. So that means, it essentially means that we can't exactly get justice. No, so that is one. The other is we are trying to, there's a lot of, I saw in your advocacy, thank you for sharing that, the need to, there's a lot of manual processes. Right, and so we are in an environment where we actually need to modernize, but there's a lot of diagnosis. I feel like honestly speaking, this is how I think about it. This is our first year, and there's a lot of she's diagnosing a lot of issues, which is why some people are saying she's eloquent, she's just talking about it. But I am hoping that in her second year, she can go from diagnosis to actually delivering.
But the interesting thing about being a Chief Justice is that you've been in Supreme Court for a while.
Exactly.
You've risen through the ranks, so you know. So it's not like you're a president you've never been a president and you became president. So that is the problem. And there are other people, there are other people who don't have the luxury of staying for 4 years. She's going to be Chief Justice for 4 years. Some people retire, they just become Chief Justices in less than a year and because of their retirement age, and then they're gone. But she has time to start reforms and watch those reforms unfold.
She needs to move to action very quickly, unfortunately.
Courage.
And I think that the courage is a big part of it, but I think another big part of it is actually this: we need to untangle it. It cannot be that an office depends on the executive branch.
All right, so for me,
Lordship.
Our lordship, I think she's saying the right things. I think sometimes also you have to start by positioning and stating exactly where you are. I know that a lot of us want action faster,
Right away.
but also it's important to also hear from her and see exactly what she's saying. And I think she's saying the right things. Going by what she's saying, she's clearly in the right direction. But the broader issue, it's about the independence of the judiciary. So we have a situation where the judiciary is independent by name only, not in reality.
Indeed.
Okay? Yeah. And especially we see this mostly in the subnational. In the federal level, we could say that, it's there because the judiciary draws its revenue directly from FAC. But in the states, it's different. And so, it's the reality there is that where there needs to be a lot of advocacy by her and also, the National Judicial Council, is that they really need to go down to the states
Subnational.
and really get things going. Now,
it's not just the states.
Yeah.
UK is busy building houses for
I know.
them at the federal level.
I know. I mean, the issues are complex.
Captured judiciary.
That's what it's saying.
And that's where I want to go. I mean, my last bit of comment here is the NBA.
Right.
Because you see, lawyers don't fall from heaven. I mean, judges don't fall from heaven. They come from lawyers. They come from the NBA. Okay? And if you already have a very corrupt, indisciplined, compromised NBA, to which this is the core that produces judges at state level and national level and all that, then you're going to have this problem.
So one thing I actually agree is that I believe strongly, I have strong faith in Chief Justice Kekere-Ekun. And, I believe that she will do something, but we need to continue to watch her and push her to do the right thing and to meet the expectations of Nigerians. Let's hear from you.
I don't have what to say. For those who don't know what experts say is judgment done in respect of one side only. So stop it. Your Lordship, sir, please, I don't want you to be a cautious undertaker of inertia. I want you to move, with focus, set your eye like a flint and do what needs to be done, because no time again. The common man don't have hope in the judiciary. The fact it has been totally eroded. People should come out of the bed of the politicians and protect us. People are in bed together. They're sleeping with the enemy. It's not good. That's all.
Where demands for urgent reforms are met with inertia, it suggests that those at the helm are deaf and blind to the signs of the times, and this is troubling.
Matt, well done. I'll definitely highlight a sign of our times. One-on-one connections are being replaced by distant social media clicks and scrolls. Does this trouble you? Certainly does me. Walking into a restaurant the other day, I saw a sign on the wall that read, "There is no Wi-Fi. Talk to each other." It struck me how rare that idea has become in today's hyper-connected world. We live in an age where both young people and adults are increasingly glued to their devices. What was once a tool for connection has now become a barrier. Take a walk down any busy street and you'll see the same scene repeating itself. People walking down with their heads down, eyes glued on the phones. Some are watching videos, others endlessly scrolling through social media, even while crossing the road or driving. I've seen it. The danger this poses is obvious, yet the addiction seems stronger than common sense. This digital obsession is affecting our relationships in a subtle but profound way. Conversations around the dinner table have been replaced by silence, interrupted only by the tapping of fingers on screens. Families sit together in the same room, nobody's talking, but emotionally they're miles apart. Children who once spent hours playing outside or engaging with friends are now glued to their tablets and phones. Adults, on the other hand, constantly checking email, messages, what's up, and news updates. The results? A generation losing the art of face-to-face communication. It's ironic that devices meant to connect us are now disconnecting us from the people right in front of us. Moments that used to invite conversation, waiting in line, commuting, or enjoying a simple meal are now filled with silence and screen time. Technology isn't the enemy, but our overdependence on it is. We need to be more intentional about putting our phones down and being present with each other. A real conversation, a shared laugh, or simply looking someone in the eye can go a long way in restoring human connection. Maybe it's time we all take that as a sign to have a heart-to-heart and start talking again.
This is a very important conversation, I think, because if you go on dates these days, it is very disrespectful, actually.
Yeah.
You want to get to know someone, you want to have a conversation, and, you know, you say the first greetings, and then people are on their phones, and nobody is getting to know anybody, and everything is just so mechanical. And I'm going to say this, you'll be surprised. And this is what technology has done. So I was talking to a friend of mine. I haven't seen her in 10 years. We went to the same school. And while we were chatting, I realized she was using AI to talk to me. To reply to my messages.
Say that.
How?
I kid you not. I have those messages on the phone, but it's going to be embarrassing. So when I say, hi, how have you? I was like, hey, how have you been? Long time. Well. Then she probably takes my message and dumps it on AI and then says, what should I respond? And I kid you not.
No,
because I did. So when I noticed how mechanical, because there is no human connection. Yeah. So I had to take my response back to AI, and when I dropped it, it gave me the response she was giving to me. So at some point, I just stopped. I'm like, no. So I think that we have become so technology dependent that we cannot even connect. And this is someone I used to know, you know, and that we don't even have that time to talk to people, and we are losing each other. Because in the heart of human relations, it is understanding. It is the humaneness that makes us, that is in us, that makes us humans.
I think that that sign that says, you know, we should take the sign to heart and start talking again, I think we should also include start learning again and start walking again. Nigerian youths are unemployable because we have now gotten to the point where you show up for your first day of work and you're like this.
No, it's a lie.
And you are quickly, they are quickly putting their phone away. You are in a meeting and they're, hello?
No.
It has become, it is now a chronic condition. And by the way, can I submit to us that we should ban devices from schools? Why does my 5-year-old need a laptop? Why?
To keep her busy.
Now,
and
I'm having to go pry a laptop from the room of a 5-year-old because the school mandated laptops. And so now the child, I was at work and I just got, Dekomi is playing chess. I say, don't they have exams? In fact, I still have the screenshots that I sent to the teacher that I got a notification now that Dekomi is playing chess on the school laptop that isn't he supposed to be in exams? Teacher said, she doesn't know, she'll go and check. Lo and behold, they went and the child, they said one of the quizzes was online. So the child left the quiz.
Yeah.
A 5-year-old now left the quiz and went to go and play chess. Thank God it was even chess, it was not watching porn. So we are now at a critical moment. You know, Nigerians, we always overcopy. What the technology that other people have used to leapfrog into growing the economy and scaling the economy is the one we are using to be texting back and forth with you. So we don't know the appropriate use of technology. So for me, I think that we are now at a critical point. In fact, when I saw this topic, I was dancing with joy because I think it's high time we address this complete disdain for connection. We don't want to talk anymore. Even husband and wife now, they don't want to talk anymore. Everybody is like, text me. Maybe you text me, don't worry. People are in a hurry. Everybody is in a hurry. The way we adopt technology, I've made it a point in my own organization. When we have a meeting, I have a basket, submit your phone. And I always say, okay, what is the solution? And I think our solution really needs to be that we start creating a way for us to disconnect from technology and actually have technology-free zones or technology-free moments.
One of the things I tell my kids about is how we lived during our time. It usually brings a lot of arguments at the dinner table when my daughter tries to remind me that my generation is different from theirs. But I tell her about what we do, that we lived in the outdoors. I come back from school, I'm outside there playing.
Before you enter house, your shirt go down dirty.
I'm climbing mango tree, at the back of the house. We lived in the outdoors. We engage, we socialize, there. And I also would tell our story. Myself and my wife would tell them stories about how we used to write letters to each other.
Yes, I remember.
We wait 1 week, 2 weeks to get the letters. And it wasn't just about the letter, it was the waiting, really.
Was it sealed with a kiss?
It was the waiting that made sense, And it's not to discount the fact that the reality of their time or this time is that things are different. The phones are not just talking devices now, they are business devices. You cannot do without them. Your emails are there. They are communication devices that have become very impactful. You want to pay for something, you have to do that. Yeah. So that it's looking at how do we bridge the gap, how do we balance it, and I think that it's a balancing conversation here. And your suggestions, for instance, of saying, as a couple, if you come to the dinner table, which we have, been doing now in my family, is that when it's come to dinner, everybody put your phones aside, okay?
It's dinner time. Let's have
that me time. We also we try to do movie time as a family. So everybody is, we're there together as a family, and then we put your phones outside and we watch a movie. And when we are done watching the movie, we discuss about the movie and things like that. I think so. It's about being intentional in recognizing the reality of technology of our time, that if you're not compliant, you will be irrelevant. But also trying to balance it.
Okay, thank you for this, because it's a needful one for the family and the society. I see the dearth and the death of critical thinking as against machine thinking. I was just going to say, people now reply your conversations with ChatGPT. They give prompts to AI. Having said that, Gen Zs talk about their mental health a lot. When that mental health is triggered by flight from self. Because you find that a lot of them do not have depth. Why? Because they run away from silence. And silence is a two-edged sword. Silence can sting, it can sink, but it can also give clarity. It can give depth, and it can enable self, the coming to your own. But if we keep running away from silence, because what we do is that we're constantly performing online. That is why we're gone to our devices. It is destructive, it is disruptive, it is performative, and it is addictive. So it is the addiction that we see, that even when we're walking, having this walk that we're talking about, you're on the phone and you're walking. Where is the benefit from that walk? Because you are taking flights from yourself. You are refusing to have a conversation with yourself, first of all, before we now start talking about having conversations with other people. Yep. So we, as mothers and fathers, we have to find a way to remove devices from our children, and we have to overcome, self, to also drag the devices from ourselves and live meaningful life, do critical thinking, and contribute to not just our own development, but the development of our immediate surroundings, our immediate environment. That's what we need to do.
Can we talk for a minute? Warning signs are meant to be heeded. We either stop and take responsibility, or we scroll past them. Here at the table, we take ownership. Do you? If you do, then join us again, same time next week. Till then, it's goodbye from all of us. Sayonara.
Bye.
Signing out.